Welcome in, everybody, to the Skol Marketing Podcast. Today is Thursday, February 13th, and we are joined by our creative content team. We have Drew and Abe, our creative experts here in the house, and we're going to be talking a little bit about social media, current events, and whatever else we might find ourselves into. Be sure to follow along and listen to this full conversation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Skol Marketing Podcast. It is Thursday, it's middle of February. We just had the Super Bowl, and breaking news, the Duolingo owl is dead. Did you guys hear about this? The owl from Duolingo, the mascot, literally their logo, the thumbnail on their app, the owl, he's dead.
For everybody or just for the people that haven't been using it?
It doesn't matter, he's dead. So that makes me wonder, is it good marketing to kill your mascot? Because obviously, you know, it's a fictional bird. You know, they didn't actually kill the bird. But what is the greater message behind that? Like killing your mascot? Like, we are obviously Skol Marketing. The Minnesota Vikings are a huge part of what we do here. What if they killed Victor the Viking? Like, they wouldn't do that. What?
Okay, this is mind-blowing to me because I've noticed that the Duolingo app icon has changed over time. And it, like, some days he looks like really malnourished or sick and like sad and distraught. And I'm like,
so this is
a thing. And I was like, is it because I'm lacking on my duties of learning French? Because I was trying to learn French for a while. And I thought the Duolingo app was like looking disheveled and like bad because I just wasn't using the app. But what if there was like this grand scheme where like the app just was like getting sick and the bird just died over time? I need to dig into this more, but that's
feeding it with knowledge.
yeah, like it was starved of knowledge, and maybe there's like this, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty wacky. Straight from the Duolingo Instagram page, they have a video of the owl, and we can link that here. The owl, the Duolingo logo and mascot, has little cartoon X's over his eyes, like when a cartoon dies, and he's floating on up to heaven. And the story is that he was hit by a driver. Somebody hit and killed the Duolingo owl.
Oh my God.
They're asking their social media followers, please post any leads on Instagram. Thanks for your patience with us during these trying times. Hashtag RIP Duo. So Duo is no longer with us. Firstly, I mean, I don't know how we go on without Duo. But Drew, you brought up a really interesting point that the app icon has been evolving. So this maybe wasn't just a ploy around the Super Bowl when, you know, advertising's kind of at its peak. They've been thinking about this for a while then. And I'm just kind of curious. I want to dive into what you guys think the strategy is behind that. Because, Drew, you obviously had like some sort of nugget of what you thought the truth of that was, right? Like you weren't feeding it knowledge. Yeah. You weren't giving it its proper diet. You know, you weren't feeding it. So, yeah, what could this be? It's so interesting.
Yeah, I'd really love to understand the inner workings of that sort of campaign because, like I said, to me, it was literally just, I thought that it was my own, like it was only changing on my screen just because I'm like, I'm not doing my French lessons today, so I'm not, like the Duolingo app is not happy with me. I think that there's another app out there that does something similar. I can't recall exactly, but it's probably made by the same creators as Duolingo, but they do something similar. So I think it's a great marketing scheme, whatever it is. There's a lot of like mysticism and weird like what the hell were they thinking in a way? But it also makes you search for answers, which then creates this larger sort of fan base where it's like even conspiracy theorists are coming in and being like Duolingo is X, Y, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's cool. I definitely, this is the first I've heard of it, so don't really know exactly what my take is, but it's interesting, to say the least.
It's an interesting campaign, too, to just think about, like, how active and how adamant they were about killing this little bird. And it's interesting, too, because if you look at the Duolingo owl, he is a cute little cartoon character, right? Like, he wants you to learn languages. He's fluffy. He's friendly. And I wonder if their whole idea was to kind of like dig deep into the psychology of people that use Duolingo and kind of play with them a little bit and see that bird get sick over time and malnourished, as you said. And then I'm just curious to see what the results are going to be. Like, Duolingo is obviously already pretty popular. Does this mean more people are going to do it to try to solve the mystery of who killed it? Like, I'm so curious to see where this goes, and we might have to provide an update on the next episode. But yeah, Duo.
I'll just interject one more time. I wonder, like, if there is this marketing ploy where eventually they're going to say, okay, there's a goal ahead of us that if we can collectively learn this amount this amount of hours or something, that we can resuscitate or revive the bird from the ether plane or something, which is definitely very out there. But if they're going to do this already, this sort of campaign, I feel like you can't put it past them. They might end up doing something weird like that.
They'll for sure bring him back, I think. Like, I think it's something where they get rid of him for a time being to get attention, get eyeballs on the brand.
Yeah.
I've never even used Duolingo, but I know the owl, I know the bird, I know the logo. I mean, it's like any other mascot. I feel like other companies have done something similar.
McDonald's with Grimace.
Yeah.
Like, Grimace came back, what was it, last year? And it was a cultural sensation. They made
Oh,
the
yeah.
shakes.
They're bringing back Grimace's uncle, the green guy. I don't know his name.
Grimace has an uncle?
I think so. Fact check that.
Throw up a clip.
Do you guys know what Grimace is? Like, what his shape represents?
I think you've told us in the past.
He's a taste bud. He's supposed to be a
Oh my
taste
God.
bud.
That is disturbing.
Yeah, big purple taste bud. So yeah, we'll monitor the situation. We'll get our investigators on this. We'll bring you guys
start
some
learning some languages.
Yeah, we definitely will. So speaking of advertising this week, obviously we had the Super Bowl on Sunday. Eagles just whomped the Chiefs. Game aside, advertising is, of course, a great tradition of the Super Bowl. Now, there's a lot of buzz about the commercials this year. Some people said they were kind of mid, not necessarily on the level of years past. Of course, there were some winners in there. And one big piece of discussion that is at the forefront of Super Bowl commercials these days is the role of artificial intelligence. Now, that's kind of twofold, right? Like, there are commercials for AI companies, right? There was the ChatGPT commercial, which I enjoyed very much, kind of showed a little human evolution and the advancement of technology. But also, there's instances where companies are using AI to create their commercials as a whole. And I think this is interesting. I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. And one way that comes to mind is if you use AI to create a Super Bowl commercial, you probably save on the labor of the creatives, right? And the production and, just kind of like feeding it into an AI system and, it comes up with a commercial for you. While that may be an effective way to save money and kind of cut corners on time and get the product out there, Americans aren't dumb. Like, we know when something is AI. And while it can create interesting and lifelike videos and graphics, it's still missing that human element. And I think as a creative team, one thing that we're trying to strive for is that human element in content.
Right.
And I think it feels a little unethical, especially to use AI to do something creative in like a Super Bowl commercial, where this is already, as an audience, we're already kind of tricked into caring about advertising in commercials, which any other day of your life, the last thing you want to see are commercials and advertising. And if now we're seeing commercials and advertising that are supposed to be uber creative, that not creative people aren't even like making some of them anymore, it's just AI. Like, that's just, and again, Hunter, like you said, it's so obvious for a lot of people to tell. Like, some new Marvel movie in, I think, Fantastic Four, they released some promo art on Instagram, and you could just easily tell that it was like
It's kind of like the
used
smoother,
AI.
softer sort of like edges
Some of
and
the people
stuff.
have like way too many
really?
fingers, and you're just
Wait,
like, first of all, that looks AI.
We gotta see a picture of this.
And if you look close enough, you're like, these people have way too many fingers. This is like $1 billion company.
That's insane.
I don't know. It just feels unethical, and sometimes I think just as a viewer, it's a little bit.
Yeah. What was the brand that used an AI commercial? Because I'm wondering also, like, I think leveraging AI as for a commercial, if it's satire and like, you know, being like, okay, the evolution of AI is going so far, but look at how stupid it is. You know what I mean? And if they're leveraging that story within kind of the marketing scheme, then I think it makes sense. But if it's literally trying to replace the human element or come off as genuine, then I think it's, like Abe said, it's like not ethical and it's easy to read because AI is just like, especially in the video front, it's just not there yet. And so we can't really trick viewers with that yet, nor is it like ethical to do so. But yeah, just saying like, if it was more satire, I think that's kind of clever. But so I'm curious, like what the commercial actually was.
Yeah, so there were a few, and I know this wasn't necessarily a Super Bowl commercial, but during the holidays, we were being hit with this AI Coca-Cola commercial quite a bit. It was basically an AI creation of the North Pole and kind of that iconic Coca-Cola Christmas ad with Santa and the polar bears drinking Coca-Cola, that whole thing. And in that instance, I can kind of see why they might want to do that, right? Like it's already sort of a fictitious fantasy kind of world with Santa, polar bears drinking Coca-Cola. Like, you know, a David Attenborough documentary isn't necessarily going to capture that in real footage. So...
okay, that would be dope though.
it would. But I think, like you said, I mean, there's a difference between, you know, kind of sticking with your brand tone and then ultimately kind of like trying to trick the audience, which maybe isn't the most moral way to go about your advertising.
Yeah, you can never really go the smoke and mirrors route because eventually someone's going to figure it out and it's really going to bite you in the ass. Because then you never know. Like one conspiracy or one bad sort of piece of press like can catch a following. I mean, we see that so often in the media is that people can say like Ariana Grande said this on Twitter when it's a deep fake. Yeah. And then so many people cling to that and create this entire narrative that then creates almost like a cult following for these pessimistic views towards somebody or something. So it's always important to be authentic and genuine and be in touch with the human side, because at the end of the day, humans like humans, you know, humans crave the creations of other humans. I mean, maybe not everybody thinks that way. There's no absolute, but, I think once you start getting more like AI content wrapped into it, it just leaves a bad taste in people's mouth sometimes when it's like, oh, you can't fool me. Like, I know this is AI. That's stupid. So
let's take a quick break. I want to show you guys the ChatGPT, the Intelligence Age commercial from the Super Bowl. Let's watch it and discuss. Okay, so we just watched the ChatGPT commercial from the Super Bowl. Immediate thoughts?
That was my first time seeing it. And honestly, I'm glad I saw it in this intimate setting rather than in a living room with a bunch of people eating chicken wings. I don't know why. That was kind of cool. Blows my mind, and that definitely wasn't made with ChatGPT or AI. At least it doesn't seem like it was, unless they're that smart. But I think that was aesthetically incredible. I need to digest it still, but cool.
I think what stands out to me is that last line at the end, that progress has a starting point. And I think ChatGPT could be kind of seen as a starting point for the progression of AI. So in this, some of the iconography you see is the invention of the light bulb, the invention of the wheel, humans taming horses, you know, just sort of this evolution. And I know that wasn't in chronological order, but evolution of humans and our technologies, and everyone starts with a key invention. And I think ChatGPT is kind of trying to say that they are sort of a starting point for this new AI revolution. Abe, you got any hot takes on that?
Because I think I just get irked when it's like used to create creative things that like an artist could have done, or an animator, or a painter,
Right.
or a graphic designer. But it's hard because like it does make our jobs a lot easier. It's great at coming up with ideas. It's great at coming up with like blog ideas. When I'm just like tired and don't want to think of ideas for a blog, I just plug it into ChatGPT and it gives me 15 ideas that I probably wouldn't have thought of myself. So it's hard because it does make our lives a lot easier in ways that I never would have thought, but it also frustrates me. But that was a very cool commercial.
Yeah, definitely cool. But going off of what you said, it can't be the end all be all ever. Like I feel like once it is the end all be all, then we're literally just like in a comatose state in some cocoon or something. You know what I mean?
We've got like the
We're just
meta
plugged.
headset
Yeah,
on.
we're just plugged in, and then like there's no human element. Then we're just completely controlled by AI. But I like your sentiment as in like it is the light bulb or it is the first sailboat. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It for sure is.
Yeah, where it's like it's pioneering in a way that what can we use it for eventually, and where can we take the human race with something like this? We just have to use it responsibly.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that this message is coming from ChatGPT and OpenAI too, because even in recent weeks we've seen the emergence of DeepSeek, and that is the name, right? DeepSeek.
Yep.
I always, for some reason, think it's DarkSeek, but DeepSeek.
That'd be terrifying.
And
Seat geek.
yeah, it's SeatGeek. So what I'm getting at here is it's interesting that this messaging is coming from ChatGPT because there probably were different people around the world that created a wheel, right? But there is one specific wheel that ended up being used, or the light bulb, right? Like, was Thomas Edison really the first? I don't know. That could be a whole different podcast. But it's his name that we associate with creating the light bulb. It's like the Edison light bulb. And I think ChatGPT is kind of at a moment where they are the language AI model that the world is using.
Yeah, that's funny. It is kind of like the Edison versus Tesla
Yeah.
sort of conundrum right
Right.
now between DeepSeek and ChatGPT and like all the other. Claude is another one, or Gemini. Grok.
Yeah, that's
I
the
don't know
X
Grok.
one. Yeah. It's
Oh,
funny you
yeah,
said
yeah, I think you
it's
have.
funny you said Edison and Tesla because my mind went to X, of course, run by Elon Musk, and Grok is their language model. Which Grok, by the way, I don't know if you guys have looked into it at all, but I definitely think ChatGPT is superior when it comes to the language. But Grok creates some fire images. Like they actually are pretty cool, and
Really?
it seems to digest the information that you give it very well. And you can still, with a trained eye like ours, you can still tell it's AI, but it does create lifelike graphics that I think could trick, kind of a more untrained viewer of AI. So continuing our conversation about AI, Drew, you've been at Skol Marketing since the Stone Ages, essentially. So, of course, it was still a digital marketing agency when you started, but you didn't necessarily have access to tools like ChatGPT. So can you talk a little bit about how your role as a social media coordinator, creative content coordinator, and team lead has evolved, and how you've kind of like influenced your AI to work for you, and how you've still kind of kept a human touch as you've grown?
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I started, I was actually at a different digital agency in this same very building, as you guys know, before Skol moved in, and everything was kind of just off the dome. It was a lot of, so I actually had kind of a mentor / other writer that worked with me, who was 30, 40 years older than me. And a lot of it was just like spitballing ideas back and forth, coming up with ideas. We did more branding side of stuff. So like coming up with people's stories, manifestos, that sort of stuff. And so it was a lot more like human, and more collaborative, I would say, where it is just more human to human contact, which a lot of great ideas came out of that. And then when I started at Skol, I was kind of in my own siloed sort of sector where I was kind of having those conversations with my own brain, and then just like kind of taking what I already knew from my previous position, and just like creating the stories, posting them on social, and kind of just rinsing and repeating. And then ChatGPT came into the picture, and I started having those conversations with a robot, and it was interesting at first. It was definitely like, I did not know what to think about ChatGPT. I was like, this feels wrong. As a creative, I just feel like this was an easy button and it's way too easy to come up with something better, or it's even taking away from the creative elements that I could have brought to the table if I would have spent more time on it. But over time, I've grown to see how much potential it does have. And especially if you leverage it the right way and don't make it, like I was saying, the end all be all. If you use it as a tool to, create inspiration, like for a blog post, like Abe was saying, or for a tagline or something like that, and then injecting your own humanness into what the robot spit out, I feel like you can really go a long way and you can expedite your creative. So that's kind of my general take.
Abe, I'm curious to hear from you. You have run a YouTube channel for how long now? How long have you been doing Hypolite?
I've been doing it for about 4 years, I would say. 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so you started that YouTube channel around the same time Drew started at Skol. And, you and I, Abe, here at Skol, we kind of came in after that initial wave of ChatGPT, right? Like it was something we were already maybe a little familiar with. I'm curious to know ChatGPT and other AI resources, how that's impacted your YouTube channel. I mean, anything from content creation, idea generation to maybe more like the analytics side. How does AI play a role in your YouTube channel?
I think I didn't touch AI or ChatGPT for my YouTube channel until about 2 months ago, honestly. I never used it. I never thought about using it. But honestly, how I've used it has, I think, benefited my channel in a couple of ways. I think one way I used it was just getting transcripts from more popular YouTube channels and reading their script and like how they talk to help boost the way I talk in my channel. Like whether it's like intros or hooks or outros, I've used AI to make my scripts more engaging because I thought that I sounded too boring, and running it through ChatGPT and boosting, just saying that like, hey, can you help this script be more engaging, and them giving me better adjectives or rephrasing sentences has definitely helped, I think, improve my channel. Yeah.
I'm curious, do you use ChatGPT for like ideation in a way too? Or is that all kind of like, I know I'm going to build this mock this week or something, where it's more in tune with your passions? I'm curious kind of.
I haven't. I don't think I need help coming up with ideas for things to build. I have like such a long list of ideas that like, and I think I pride myself in those ideas that I feel like turning to ChatGPT would I feel like it would diminish that.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of other creators in the community that use it, but I've never found I've been so desperate for ideas that
Got it.
in that kind of creative department.
Right, that's fair.
I think that's a really cool connection too, because you are making the content for humans. And if your idea come from your beautiful human mind, like it's just more likely to resonate, right? Like you've probably got a pretty good pulse of what your audience reacts to, of what videos do well, and just like being able to use your own intuition to move forward with those ideas. It seems like a winning formula, right? And I'm sure you could attest to that, right?
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
totally.
You even mentioned a few weeks ago, and I won't name the video, but you had a video that performed well that, maybe wasn't your greatest passion or favorite style of video to make, but that you're in touch with your audience, right? Like you're a human, you react, and you kind of are able to read them in ways that an AI wouldn't.
Yeah, that's totally accurate. And again, like people, like humans, viewers, they like to be able to connect to what you're making. And I think by giving them backstory of like, hey, I watched this movie or this TV show, or I did this as a kid that sparked this idea, and people who have seen that TV show will like be more connected to what I make by giving them this personal backstory of this idea I came up with versus being like, I plugged this idea into ChatGPT and this is what it farted out, and now here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, your video titles would have like the rocket ship emoji or like the stars.
Literally. Oh my God. That is something that is such a dead giveaway when it comes to AI content. It's just how shittily they use emojis and how often. Like, it's not even in a like clever, creative way. It's just like slapping on the like the rocket or the star or the check mark.
There's so many emojis, but for whatever reason, this huge, complex language model only picks out like 3 or 4 of them repetitively, and it's very interesting.
And yeah, something that grinds my gears is I feel like when people are like, why do I need social media when I can just plug it into ChatGPT and have it spit something out, and now I've got a content calendar for a whole month? And then I look at the content, I'm like, first of all, this is like 3 paragraphs long. It's riddled with like random emojis. It feels super sterile and like almost like that fake like enthusiasm where it's like literally like picture a robot smiling at you. Like, you don't see any of the expression in the eyes or the face. It's literally just the smile, and it's so dead and scary at times. And then don't even get me started on graphics. Like, if you're not posting graphics of your people and things that are actually in touch with your story, you are never, ever going to last. You aren't going to find the right audience. Abe, explain what you explained to me when I was interviewing you about setting up.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love this idea.
So I think the best advice I've ever heard when it comes to creating, whether it be like a YouTube channel, basically any social media platform, whether it's like a Facebook page for your business, a YouTube channel for a hobby, is you basically want to create your page like a small, intimate coffee shop. I'm sure we can all think of like a coffee shop or a cafe that we just really, or even like a small bookstore that we really like being in there. It's small, it's cozy, it's got everything you like, and that's kind of what you want your profile to be like. You don't want to just be focused on posting just like clickbait or things that you think will go viral. You really want to have a small coffee shop like community where your viewership is going to be reliable. They're always going to show up. They like what you're selling. Like
they just come back for more.
They're gonna always come back for more. It's not fake. I mean, it's a very real connection.
And then think about like your favorite coffee shop that you go to nowadays, or just favorite place in general. It doesn't have to be coffee. If you're not a coffee drinker, like whatever. But like you want to take your friends there too, right? You want to show it off. You'd be like, hey, this is where I kind of get my cup of joe every morning, but it's such an immaculate vibe as well, and I want you to experience it. And over time, if you can build that sort of environment and that place where it just feels comfortable, naturally you're going to start gaining more people that are like, you know what, I share a similar, like, I love this. Like, this is awesome. And then it just exponential from there. Then those people are bringing their friends. Next thing you know, you're running a factory and you're giving... No, I'm just kidding. And you've given it all up for capitalism.
All right, Bezos.
I would like to share a commercial that is human, but also touches the AI element, which is super interesting to me. Look up Johnny Walker robot. Or
just from a commercial standpoint, too, you didn't see one element of their product either.
No.
It was just kind of telling the story about what it means to be human, and I think that kind of plays into the Johnny Walker brand because, you know, think about what we're doing right now, right? Like we're sitting around a wood table talking to other humans. It's a very, you know, human experience here on Earth, and like drinking a glass of Johnny Walker, like a robot isn't going to taste that, right? Like it's a unique human experience, and it's a good reminder that we can't forget about ourselves in this digital world. Hey, you. Thanks for watching. We hope you had as much fun listening to this conversation as we did having it. We hope you learned a little something along the way. And if you want to learn any more impactful tips for this world in digital marketing, check out our YouTube channel or our website, skolmarketing.com. Bye for now.